Hi, I'm Hossan.
I'm Stanley.
And welcome to the Leong-Form. And now this is a podcast where we, as brothers, as in like bros, we are real brothers.
Yeah, blood brothers.
Yeah. Decided to have this podcast because we wanted to, basically work together. Most of the time, Stanley always interviews me when he used to be on radio. And this is the first time we're working together on a podcast.
Yeah, it's the first project really that we've ever done together. And we thought it would be fun, two apples from the same tree falling off the tree. But
You say fun, we are not fighting.
well, so far so good, at least leading up to today's episode. But yeah, how different it will be, for two brothers, one steeped in entertainment and comedy, and the other, me, having done news and current affairs before. How interesting would this program be? So we thought, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, and we've brought along a really good friend of ours, my best friend, in fact, and this is Benjamin Lee. Hello.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hello.
Okay, I'm Benjamin, and also known as Mr. Miyagi. It'll take too long to introduce myself for every single thing that I do, but we can talk a little
You're a
bit
man
about
of
that.
many hats, like that lah.
So many hats
Yeah.
in my wardrobe. No space for other stuff like a belt that I desperately need right now.
Wow, losing weight, not bad.
Okay. Trim and fit for the brand new year.
Well, it's great to have you on the show with us because, we've known each other forever since we were,
In the before times.
in the before times, Jurassic Park era. And Stanley has known you because you are my best friend.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to find out, especially for this podcast, creativity. Where is it going? Is it being lost because, how do people, like for you in the news, for example, or doing current affairs?
Do we have to be creative? in news?
Exactly.
Yeah, or just stay factual.
Yeah, and Ben also comes from a background of writing and being an agency and stuff like that. And I have to be creative day in, day out, so it's very tiring.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, Ben?
But Hossan, before we even
sorry.
ask Ben that, I was wondering what makes Ben
Ben.
a voice, a voice that can comment about creativity, because I guess our listeners, our viewers may want to know a little bit more background on yourself that gives you the authority to talk about creativity. Why not me then?
Okay, I think
Why not you?
it depends on how we define creativity. I think creativity is basically, in my books, finding an answer to the questions that are bugging you all day. So it doesn't mean that, I have to be an artist, I have to be a writer. You can be creative in the business world. I need to find a way to sell this product. What do I do? Do people need this product? Or finding out what kind of product somebody needs. That's creativity, as in you are curious about something. So you want to find answers to the questions that maybe nobody else has answered. I think that's basically a very useful definition of creativity lah. And from beginning of my career, I don't even know how to describe how I started my career.
But you've always been writing.
I've always been
writing ever since secondary school.
Yeah, I guess making sense of the world by writing, and these days they call it journaling and
Blogging.
At one point, it's blogging.
or
Which-
writing a diary. or
Oh my
blog.
goodness, I've never written. Have you written diaries before?
I did, but short-lived. It never lasted very long.
What?
Yeah, mine was hi, then don't know already. That's why.
Dear diary.
Dear-
I forgot what I was supposed to write.
As per diary wrong some more. Dear dairy.
I live on Dairy Farm Road. Which
Yes, that's where we
used to,
were.
used to, yeah.
Yeah, the writing, I think, sort of catalyzed everything. I shouldn't be using a word like catalyze. I hate using the word catalyze, but let's find another word. It kickstarted the formal employment for creativity, like being hired as a writer for hire, being hired as a creative consultant, creative director. All started from writing. So I started writing on this thing called a blog. And how it started was actually I used to write letters to my friends. I used to write letters to Hossan. And I would, when the email was invented, that's how old we are, right? When email was invented,
Yeah.
I started writing long emails to my friends telling them about my day, what I ate, and all that. And this was before blogs were invented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my friends, they were very kind. They replied and said, thanks for your email.
That
Yeah,
one
your-
sentence, right?
Yeah, thanks for your email. Have you heard of this thing called a blog?
Oh.
Yeah. They didn't want to read my emails. They just said, you should just put it on the blog so that maybe other people can read it.
WordPress.
And that's how it started.
And when we want to read
Yeah,
it,
WordPress.
we go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it all
Yeah,
started.
I didn't realize that, Ben.
Is it?
I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah. Were you on Blogger?
Yeah,
Back then?
Blogspot.
Yeah, me
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You also are.
I was on blogs. I still
Obviously,
have my account.
I don't read very much.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it started, and then I think there was before people started writing blogs on their own self-publication. What we read was what was given to us, like in the newspapers and magazines, and there was a certain set format or certain set style that you had to follow AP style and all that. And I was never trained as a writer formally. And so I just wrote in my own voice, like how I would speak, with little, quirks here and there, throwing in Singlish and everything, which was a no back then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that made people sit up and take note. Okay, at one point, the blog was getting more traffic than the Straits Times website.
That's not hard.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that was when we people started to sit up and take note. Okay, there's something called alternative media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it got.
Wow, so you were a
kickstarted.
pioneer almost in that league.
Unfortunately, yeah, when people say, "Hey, you invented the internet." No lah, I never invented the internet, just
say
social
yes,
media.
No, but it's true though, because then you and Mr. Kinman, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, we invented the podcast,
The
basically.
podcast,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, you had the Mr. Brown show. I mean, he had, and you were on it as well.
Correct.
And then therefore your moniker, Mr. Miyagi, and that's another story altogether.
Yeah.
But then after that, we both started working together.
Yep.
And then you started writing comedy, stand up.
Yeah.
Which is something that I couldn't write. I tried very hard, but cannot
So now
spell.
everybody knows, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So Ben, literally the wind beneath your wings, as Bette Midler would say.
Yes, in a way, because what we do and that's how we would collaborate creatively,
Yeah.
is I'll tell him all my stories,
Yeah.
and then Ben would just scribble,
Organize it.
organize it into a coherent thoughts passageway, and then therefore I would, it's still my stories
Yeah.
at the end of the day, or our stories that
Yeah.
we shared, and then I would perform. However, I don't know about you though, because in terms of when you had to write your scripts for formal stuff, for current affairs stuff, do you have that kind of leeway?
Well, when I was on radio doing a talk show, there was a lot of autonomy to script the way I wanted it. No one would lean over your shoulder and say, "Hey, what did you write?"
Until you go on air and they scold you.
No. I always, was very well behaved. I knew where the OB markers were.
Well, no one ever told me the OB markers.
Yeah, nobody told us.
Right? We never got no OB markers one.
Yeah. So creativity, there's always, I felt there's always, scope for me to write in a certain way in which would draw in the listener right from, the first word. Or whether posing a question right at the start of the interview, for instance, and there's no hard and fast rule about it. I guess it also comes with, I suppose, a little bit of your own personality that comes through.
Correct,
right?
correct.
Of course, you and Hossan are probably like polar opposites in terms of personality, because in my perspective,
This
Ben,
is
you're always
interesting.
serious, quiet, behind the scenes kind, and Hossan's just shining on stage. Sort of.
There's chaos in my brain.
Yeah.
I've never seen the wild side of you, basically.
Oh gosh. Oh,
Wait,
do you
maybe I
want
should-
to?
okay, joke you as my brother say these kind of things.
Why,
I mean,
why?
I'm not.
No, he's not wild.
I am.
I'm
very-
on stage.
Okay. That's
Okay,
my
that's-
kid. That's my
that's
In
stage
real life, he's
persona.
not. In real life,
Yeah.
he's not. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because my mother said that the other day. Actually, Mom said that to Auntie Margaret.
What did she
said
say?
that when I was in school, I was growing up amongst all the cousins like Danny and Terrence and all that. I was actually invisible.
Yeah, it's correct.
In
He's the
school, I was
quietest.
invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were part of the gardening society. Of course, you were invisible. You looked like you blended in with
Hey,
the plants.
don't
Actually,
mind.
blended with the plants.
I was the president of the gardening society, not just gardening.
Holding
okay?
high office.
I tell people you carry this spot from there to there, like that. Anyway, so that was what we were trying to get at, lah. That in terms of persona, we all put on
Yes,
different
yes.
masks.
Different masks.
And that's why we work well together, I think, because we can be really crazy when we're working, and when we can be really serious.
We are focused.
Yeah.
And I think to bring it back to creativity,
Yeah.
right? In terms of even what you do when you're actually preparing for a radio interview and all that. One thing I learned. Okay, so it's a little bit more background. I've been in a marketing agency career for the last 8 years, and I've learned method to our madness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, what we do when we collaborate on writing scripts and all that, right, is information design. That's the term that they use for it.
Really?
Yeah.
IS.
Right. So, like for instance,
ID lah, IS.
Sorry, I was thinking of information systems. Sorry, different system.
cannot spell. The thing about you saying, okay, how do I craft the opening question? What's the opening question that will make the audience of the interview sit up and say, I want to listen to the rest of this? So that is information design, and that is creativity. So I thought, okay, all these terms are actually very useful because they actually helped. Like writing comedy actually helped with my marketing communications work and vice versa.
So would you have to have a playful streak almost in you apart from curiosity as well?
I would say the curiosity informs the playful streak. Playfulness comes from curiosity. It's play. It's what if I do this and this? What if I put Mentos in a Coke bottle? That is creativity.
Well, we don't have mentors. A fisherman's friend.
Okay, this is not sponsored unless they want to sponsor.
Okay,
But interestingly though, because then if we talk about curiosity and play, do you find that now this arc is disappearing amongst the next, I wouldn't say generation, but I mean, I find less people getting less curious. More and more people getting less curious. I beg your pardon. Yeah.
I thought about this. I mean, as we were preparing for this episode, right? What is the cause of this seemingly lack of curiosity? A couple of things. At first, I thought, okay, is it our education system? Is it because we are always spoon-fed? You study this and you do this to pass an exam. You do this to get this qualification, and there's no side tracks. Or side tracks are not rewarding. We are not encouraged to take side tracks because what's the point? It always has to have an objective. So we are so objective driven. Then also the other thing that I thought was impacting at why people are not as curious anymore or not putting effort into trying to find new things to do is the way we are consuming media. Social media is really what they say brain rot. Right? You're just consuming stuff. You're just looking at TikTok. You're just looking at a feed. You're doom scrolling. And basically, you're not going out there and making yourself go into rabbit holes, but instead just being passively consuming stuff. You're not using your brains at all. So I think these two things are making people not question or questioning its abstraction. So like, for instance, if the car manufacturer, Toyota, they are very efficient. They actually led the world at one stage in terms of their production lines and all that. And every time there was something that went wrong, the engineers could fix it really quickly. And the Europeans and Americans couldn't figure out why. And then they found that they had this system called the Toyota method of questioning. If, say, the assembly line broke down here, why? They ask the question why once. And they find an answer. The engineer will answer this first. And say for instance, the electricity for this one was not powerful enough to run at this rate. That was the one answer number one. Then they ask, why is that? So they ask why 4 times, 5 times until they find that root cause. So it's that curiosity in your process thinking that actually makes you a better engineer. So you don't really need to be a creative or an artist or anything like that. Creativity comes in anywhere. It's about being curious as to why is this like that.
So the why kind of solves the problem lah.
If you ask it enough. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're encouraged to question, why did I put on a blue shirt today, for example? Why
Because
did
it's
I
only
feel
one
like
that's ironed, but okay.
Yeah. So even mundane things, and you're curious about the mundane things, then you'll find that it leads you. You may not be immediately useful, may not be immediately obvious, right? And then after that, one day you'll find a use for it. I was talking to this singer-songwriter Lin Ying the other time. I said, do you know that there are some places that don't appreciate you holding on to this creative thought because you haven't found a purpose for it? It's like me picking out a leaf and holding it in my hand, and I don't know what to do. It's so pretty, and I'll just hold it first and see what I can do with it.
Isn't that how gravity was discovered?
Apple. Yeah.
Eh?
Why?
Why?
Exactly that.
Right?
That. Yes. You question nature. You question,
But you talk about curiosity and how we just don't have that same level of hunger anymore for it. But at the same time, there are, in this day and age of going digital and AI and all that, there are platforms that allow you to seek deeply.
Correct.
right?
Yes.
DeepSeek and GPT and such. Is that slowing us down from being more curious, or should that actually be an impetus for us to be more curious?
That's okay. I find it's a fork in the road. You can go deep stupid, or you can go really smart. You can really deep seek. Okay, so here's the thing. So everybody thinks, okay, AI is going to take over us. I don't need to do so much work anymore. It's going to help us. Yes, correct. It'll help you do your work faster. But again, it's a matter of how passive you are. You ask AI something, but if you don't have the curiosity or the creativity to phrase it properly, you're only going to be given the answer that your question deserves.
Yep.
Like, what's the meaning of life? If you type it into any AI tool, and what happens is that it'll just generate text that they have copied from philosophical texts. But is that what you're looking for? Or is that something that you question? Why am I asking?
What is the meaning of life?
What am I feeling right now?
But how would AI know then?
So you keep feeding it. It's like, why am I feeling this way? Why do I need to ask this question? And AI will trawl, all the text and everything that it has been fed before as to why do people feel that they're in that position. Then you learn deeper.
Yeah.
You learn more. So case in point, like in my office, I saw one of my planners going through a YouTube video in order to transcribe the dialogue from it. It's a painstaking task, right? It's going to take her hours to do it. So I said, hey, don't we have AI tools for that? And she says, okay, no, the company can't afford to go and buy that particular tool that can trawl through. So the tools do exist. The tool can't do it. I asked the tool, our current tool, to do it. I asked Claude.ai to do it, and Claude says, no, I can't do it. And so I said, wait, okay, Claude can't do it, fine. But again, she took Claude's no and didn't, that's it, be all and all. So I asked her, have you asked Claude to write you a program that can do it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Put Claude
And
to
she
work.
says, ooh, okay. So I said, never mind, let me try it, see whether it can or not. And I tried it, and it worked. It came out with program written in Python, the programming language. And then I was amazed. Like, the entire code is there. I just need to assemble that code. And then so I typed, I am a programming newbie. I don't know how to install this. Can you give me step by step? And it did.
And it worked.
And it worked. Insane. I mean, there are a few bugs here that you could... Yeah, but still...
That's amazing. I didn't realize you could do that.
The idea is if you're curious enough not to just take no for an answer, you actually can think in abstraction. No, I can't do it. Why not? Then if you see whether it gives you another reason why, and then you find a way in. You always find a way in. That's why DeepSeek, the company that does DeepSeek, managed to come out with DeepSeek apparently with fewer resources because there were constraints put on them. The Americans put restrictions on the chips that they could buy, and they will always find a way around it. And I think that's what creativity is about. That's what curiosity is about. If I can't do this, can I do something else?
Find another way, find another avenue.
Yeah.
So coming back to that, right? Then is creativity being stifled in Singapore because of various OB markers, because of people saying no, you can't, and then thinking out of the box. For example, for you, when you were in agency and working, what kind of campaigns that you did that you thought out of the box because the client says no, I don't think it'll work, and then you go like, can.
Yeah, like what the comedian Rishi said. I mean, his title of his show last time was "Cannot Means Cannot." Why cannot? Cannot means cannot.
Cannot means cannot. Yeah.
I think if you went in with the attitude as there surely can be some way of doing it, and if you don't get frustrated by it, if the client tells you no, cannot be done, and in your mind you have this and you say, cannot, it's bugging me. I want to find a way to do it. And even if the client doesn't approve of the project, if you have found a way that made it possible, if okay,
for yourself.
I've satisfied my curiosity there. So I got to show you something. So basically, you remember in 2018, Trump and Kim came to Singapore for a peace summit. So one thing about my former boss, right, is that he would love to throw crazy briefs at me verbally. He'll come to me, Ben, so Trump and Kim are coming to Singapore. What can you do on social media that will make noise? It's like, okay. So this is where, like, it's politics. peace summit. Everybody's going to be talking about politics, so you don't want to talk about politics because it's just going to be part of the noise. So how do you do something ridiculous that will make people sit up and take note? And we studied everything about Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. And me and this other creative, we noticed something, which was pretty obvious. So when you look at it, you say, okay, this is the most obvious thing. We should have thought of it earlier. These are the two world leaders with the most ridiculous hairstyles. You cannot put any other world leader in that bracket. And they are meeting together for the first time. Bring attention to it. That's that's the angle, right? So, but how does marketing come into it, or how does some product? So I was thinking, okay, so hair means they need hair products, which means anything to do with the hair. And so the copywriter that I was working with is brilliant. He said, I got a campaign line for it. It's called Peace of Maine for the Peace Summit.
MANE.
Yeah. And so what happened was that we went and said, okay, we're going to find hair products. And then we didn't have Peace of Maine.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a client that was hair products. So this is Gatsby. You've seen the Gatsby hair gel, hair wax, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like a nuclear button. So
Right.
you put a table, you press, you launch nuclear
True,
button.
yeah.
So we sent a box with one of these each to President Kim and President Trump via the US and North Korean embassies, together with a box and a letter pleading for them to reach a peace deal, and that at the very least their hair won't be so wild.
Can you imagine the security panicking over the box?
So
Yeah.
the embassies received them. And
Yeah, and destroyed them
This is the one,
possibly. No, this is not the one.
Oh,
This is
so
the
it's
example.
this is like a lookalike. Okay, wow.
Yeah, so you can look it up. So Guardian Pharmacy Peace of Maine campaign, and it's still on Facebook somewhere.
Wow.
Did they ever mention that they had received such a product? No.
No, of course
No,
not.
they wouldn't.
No,
Can you imagine?
Yeah, but it made the news and all that lah. So that this is one way.
That's a great way
Yeah.
to think out of the box, especially with people like that. I mean, yeah.
Talking about people like that and out of the box, I mean, President Trump did get that comment recently.
He
Albeit
thought out of the
for
box.
well, so Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did say he had thought out of the box with the whole Gaza Strip thing.
Oh gosh.
So, but
Yeah,
that could be, of
no.
course, different motivations that led him to think out of the box because he wanted his own Riviera in the Middle East.
Actually, okay. I guess it can be classified under creativity.
Yeah, really wacky.
Yeah. Okay, let's not go into politics
All
right
right,
now. What about local content though? Let's talk about local content, shall we? I mean, because look, a lot of people. I mean, when I go overseas and I do stand-up comedy, for example, I cater to the Singaporean and to some extent the Malaysian crowd. But I'm very proud of being, our humor,
voice.
our voice.
Yeah.
How to find that voice? Because I don't know, but I think Singapore is slowly losing that voice because suddenly everyone sounds the same. I mean, not our generation, but like the younger kids sound,
American?
in a way, yes. Not just here, everywhere around the world. Australia, they all sound the same. So how do we maintain that local voice and be creative about it? I don't know. I just out of the top of my head asking the
I
question.
think it's inevitable that there will be a homogenization of cultures and language, especially if we're kind of English-based Anglophone. And so we get we have a diet of American, European, Australian content, and it's all sounding the same already. We start to use the same Gen Z languages. So I challenged the Gen Zs in my agency. I said, okay, this is actually very Western oriented. Do we use the same language in Mandarin? Does China use the same language, for instance? So it's still not quite universal. It's just because I think we are English-based. Or Western-based, for instance. I think there is a way of preserving our way of speaking Singlish, for instance, because we are champions of Singlish. We try.
Yes.
But even Singlish itself is evolving. There are Singlish
yes.
words that we used in the 80s, 90s that are not used now.
I mean, when I first heard Bojo, I didn't understand what it meant. I was like,
No, banana?
yeah, Bojo?
What's Bojo?
Bojo.
No.
Bojo.
Bojo is no borrow. See your tone.
Yeah.
No, you never tell me.
Bojo.
And you're not talking about Bojo, are you?
Jio as in call. or-
Call.
Oh, wait.
So why you never invite me?
Are we talking about that? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay. What
exactly.
banana are you talking about?
Geo is
Joe is
banana.
banana.
Oh,
King
it is.
Joe.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, that's another topic altogether.
See all this meandering and
Meandering.
branching,
That's how we think.
Dialecting.
Yeah,
Dialecting.
but exactly right. So
Yeah.
so how do we? Yeah, I guess a lot of the stuff that we are trying to maintain as a Singaporean identities. I think it's important to.
It is very important. It is. We don't want to lose our identity.
No.
I think also politically, it's very important for us to make sure that we are not considered, because we are majority Chinese, right? So we are not considered a Chinese country.
I mean, that's why I say we are Singaporeans.
Yeah, correct.
But I'm not Chinese.
Correct.
I'm a Singaporean.
So
Yeah.
if anything, right, the way Singapore society is organized, I mean, there are flaws everywhere, but how we organize ourselves, we actually taking multiculturalism for granted. How we say every race, I don't like to use the word race,
Yeah,
but
race,
unfortunately, it has its uses. Every race is equal, regardless of race, language, or religion, right? This concept is actually very foreign in our region.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very foreign. How we organize ourselves as equality, Malaysia organizes themselves in a way that they feel is equal because they feel.
Oh yes, that
Alright,
was
sound effects.
Wow,
Sound effects.
something just dropped. But
Okay,
never mind.
that's- I think
We'll
I
creative
have-
There's
about
a warning that
yeah.
I shouldn't be talking about politics.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean by that because
Yeah.
I mean a lot of people now know that I live in Malaysia. I live in
yeah,
Johor,
yeah.
and their version of multiculturalism and living in harmony
Yep.
is interesting.
It's interesting
because it's different from ours.
It's different from ours.
Yeah.
And if you are open-minded enough, it's technically also not wrong.
No, there's no right or
Yeah,
wrong.
there's
Actually,
no right or
yeah,
wrong.
it's how we all learn to survive
Whatever
with
floats
each
your
other.
boat.
Correct. So
Yeah.
whatever policies they have lah. So there's an interesting thing. So we take our multiculturalism for granted so much. I think if you're curious enough, once again, as to how people relate to one another, you will find ways of trying to, again, relate and live together. So when, say, for instance, a homogeneous society like China, for instance, when they look at Singapore, they cannot understand why we have this concept called multiculturalism. They look at it, okay, you're 70% Chinese, you should be Chinese. What is this multiculturalism thing? It is beyond their comprehension, and that's a real thing. They don't understand it. They cannot.
Yeah. At this juncture, I think we have neglected our fourth guest for quite a while. Ben, you brought in a fourth guest.
You mean the one
who
that-
made a noise?
the one that
saying,
fell down?
I want to talk about myself too.
So we're talking about creativity,
And that's how Ben got to work here, by the way.
it's a skateboard.
Skateboard, a pink skateboard that
Pink
matches
skateboard.
your shirt.
Yeah, and there's this brand on it. It's a telco. It's an MVNO. It's one of those SIM card only deal things. Now, the story behind this is that the company was having a third anniversary campaign that they briefed us. What can you do? So the usual thing that a telco will do will give you a discount or some giveaway if you sign up for a phone plan. But what we wanted to do was to bring attention to the USPs or the unique selling points of that particular telco, which was you get free rollover data. You don't use your data, you can accumulate it and all that. So the creatives and I got together and we sat down and we thought, okay, roll. And we want people to come on board.
Okay, roll and board. And this was also targeted at younger people, right?
Correct. So
You want to skateboard, huh?
yeah, most of the SIM only plans, the $10 a
Yeah.
month type plans,
Because
are targeted at young.
Yeah.
So we told the client that, hey, why not skateboards? And of course, it's like so left field. It took a lot of convincing to say, no, just let us try and do it. And we actually gave them a contingency, like let us make 200 skateboards. If not enough people sign up, we'll pay for the manufacture of the 50
You buy it
skateboards.
over.
We buy it over. So we buy it off them. And they agreed. And then when the campaign was launched together with a film and everything, it's still on YouTube. If you look for it, Giga on Board, third anniversary.
Oh, that was the one you told me you were filming and in the sun, that one, is it?
Correct, because I didn't know that it was so hard to film an action movie. because I wrote the script and everything, and then I realized.
writer, film director suddenly.
No,
Yeah.
because I think I was
so-
texting you
yeah,
and
I
you
was
were
sunburned.
You were baking in the sun because you had to film the wheels lah, film them the feet lah.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. So that the point of all this is that part of being curious and using curiosity to drive creativity, right, is to really take away all your reservations first. Never done before, don't know how to do it. All these should be secondary considerations. It shouldn't stop you from doing what you thought of.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you will be able to find, there's so many talented people in Singapore, you'll be able to find the people that can do it. Like, I never shot an action film, but like I was telling you, a bunch of students who had just graduated from film school, from Ngee Ann and Temasek, they said, hey, okay, we studied this before, maybe we can go and rent this equipment and do that. And so I saw all these fancy action cams and dollies and all that I had never used before, and we experimented. So the shoot started from 6:30 a.m. until like 9 p.m.
Wow.
I was dying.
What do you mean you ran out of light leh?
That was so the night time we did the indoor shoot lah.
I see. So okay, so then what did the client say in the end?
So the client was reluctant at first.
Yeah.
I thought it was not going to work.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months after the campaign, so we had a meeting with them, a WIP meeting, and then we asked them, so how many people signed up? And, then they said, oh, you don't worry, your skateboards were fully subscribed. Then we said, oh, okay, so oversubscribed? They said, yeah, oversubscribed.
So you made 200 lah.
We made 200.
Okay.
So we thought, okay, so how many people signed up for it? Is it what, 400, 500? Then they said, no, more. You'll be so happy. Then how much more? Is it 1,000? Is it 2,000? Said no, 70,000.
Wow.
70,000 people wanted this.
This skateboard,
yeah.
which you have it right now.
How much are you selling?
You
Limited
are, so
edition.
only 199 people got it. lah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So taking leaps,
Yes.
and knowing that, okay, it could fail. That's why we say, okay, you know what, if it doesn't work, I think that's one way to, if you don't try, you don't know. You have to just go out and yeah.
So we're saying that then don't be afraid of failure, because if
Don't be afraid
the
of
moment you're scared to fail, you will never be
You never do anything.
creative or curious. I mean,
Correct.
in a sense, lah, to
Yeah.
simplify things.
Yeah.
But of course, still knowing and being cognizant that there are risks involved and that you have buffer of sorts, right? Should that project fail, you're not going to be like going under.
I think one of the ways that we approach things is that what's the worst that could happen?
For my company go bankrupt.
Don't work law.
Choy,
Okay, I mean
choy, choy.
there are always boundaries. I'm not saying
Yeah,
like
yeah,
blue
yeah,
sky. I'm going to spend $1 million on this.
Yeah,
And burn at somebody else's money.
Yeah.
Like another example was 20 years ago when, again, social media was first invented, and when the blogs first started and got really popular. A handful of bloggers got
Yes.
super popular, right? We actually started this platform called tomorrow.sg
Yeah.
around the same time as Today Online, because when Today Online was online, we felt that the news cycle was too slow. We needed something faster. So the tagline was Tomorrow's News Today. And it was a raging success, so good that Straits Times decided to copy and call their version Stomp.
Stop.
Yeah.
Well, how does that mean tomorrow means this news today?
As in, whatever that you see in a news cycle is already old.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had
I see.
live news coming
I
in.
see.
And that
That's
was
why people
completely-
are,
yeah.
are stomping.
Correct. So
Okay.
that was something that we took a chance on. We felt that, okay, this is what people need. I think, what if we had this? Yeah.
Yeah. So far, we've been talking about curiosity within the constraints of certain sectors, whether entertainment or marketing, ad agencies, and media, to some degree. But what about listeners who are not from these sectors? They're tuning in, they're listening about curiosity, how they should be able to drive it. But how do they apply it then in their respective functions at the workplace? Some could be as dry as IT or IS, engineering. Or,
You say what? IT.
So how can they apply it then in those sectors? Or very mundane things like auditing, for instance.
Okay, so interesting question. So auditing or accounting, right? I think there's too much negativity put to the term creative accounting.
don't fiddle with your numbers. If they're
So I'm not telling.
Yes, please don't.
We're not saying fudging the numbers or being creative or number. I think that it's got a bad rep lah. But say for instance, if you're an accountant, and I know this for a fact. So accountants work in the tax department, right? IRAS. IRAS has the most curious and creative accountants. I really give it to them. So if you think about it, right, our corporate income tax takes you 10 minutes to fill up and you file your taxes already. A poor American has to hire a professional and takes them a month to file their taxes.
Really?
Yes.
It's very complicated.
It's so complicated. And we have such a simple system because we have the smartest, most curious, most creative people working in these, what you would call traditional pencil pusher type jobs.
Right, I didn't
If
realize
creativity
that.
is there because they keep asking the question, why am I making the taxpayer fill up this form? Can I make it simpler? And they keep asking the question, can I make it simpler?
That's why I pay my tax one. Don't come after me, okay?
I also.
Yeah, exactly.
we all
We all pay tax one. Because after they're curious, they go and check us how. Oh, is that why the content creators kena?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
So they find ways, and you'll notice that their priorities are because their job, their overall. There's always an overall objective, but how you get there is where you exercise your creativity and your curiosity.
Yeah. Does it deplete or not shine so brightly that level of curiosity as we get older, you think? I mean, a lot of people say, oh, the young people have all the ideas, us older people.
No, I disagree. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Cannot-
Of course you have to disagree, right?
No, but it's true, because then how are we going to as an entertainer for myself, and you and Kumar, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kumar has a show every year
Yeah.
at MBS, right? How much material can one? I
That's
always
what I
ask that
ask
question,
myself every
right?
year.
And then you gonna write for him, and then I'm like, you got so many things to say,
Yeah.
But then you realize that because a lot of people, of the younger than us,
Yeah.
have never seen him
Correct.
when he started performing in Boom Boom Room, and then so. And I'm guilty of that as well. Not guilty, but in the sense that if I do gigs and corporate gigs, I use the same jokes that I've been saying 20 years ago because people have not heard those
Yeah.
jokes and they're still funny.
Or you find a new context for that joke. Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that is it. So I think to answer the question is as you get older, it's up to you whether you want to continue questioning.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Is there a better way of doing this? Once you have the attitude of never resting, it will always be there. Like for instance, when I had my Power 98 radio show, the producer was worried, will you run out of things to say? Because your topic is just fixed towards national service, right? I said, I'll never run out of stories. There's always something.
Yeah, your national service life was so exciting.
I cannot finish telling those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's just going out and keeping all your senses, heightened in order for you to
Observing,
absorb and soak in and observe.
Correct.
Especially for us,
Distill it.
For us, because we're in the creative industry, you have to keep observing and you have to keep commenting on what's going on around you.
Correct.
Depending on whether it's current affairs or in comedy, I think it's very important. Otherwise, then we lose our sense of curiosity
Yep.
And soul.
and observation.
Yeah.
And observation is so important because a lot of people are like this on their phones all the time. And I go past it, I go, can you walk faster? That kind of thing.
You say that. I just look at it. Look up.
Or you do that. Or just go, bang, sorry. Who asked you to look at your phone? But yeah, so I think keeping the curious mind is always, I think we should encourage that.
Yep.
And unfortunately, literature is taken out of the education system.
No, really?
They
Since
put it
when?
back.
They put it back?
Yeah, they put it back.
When?
It's not compulsory, but they are not deprioritizing it anymore.
Okay, good. Wow, I'm so
I didn't even
relieved.
know that they
No,
had
they did.
thought
They-
about it.
for-
90s.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so it's all maths and science. Then I was like, what do you mean? Then because literature encourages you to imagine
Yep.
what you read and to question.
Yep.
Why did Shakespeare say this? Why did Dickens say this, etc.,
Correct.
etc.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm glad I didn't know that they put it back.
They
And
put it back because they realize now a lot of you know. Okay, so in my agency work, I work a lot on communicating government policies. And there's one saying that we came up with a couple of years ago is that policy is communication. Communication is policy.
yeah.
These two are always intertwined. So you cannot have a campaign that if you don't communicate it properly, nobody's going to be able to, or want to be on board. Case in point, the Simply Go saga. The Simply Go thing was a good thing. It's
Yeah.
a step to the future.
Absolutely.
We need to get there, but they didn't communicate it properly enough, and everybody was up in arms, and they had to backtrack that. So quite a few things is that if you don't find the words or the vocabulary to tell people what you want, you will not get them on your side. So literature is one way of understanding and growing your
Vocabulary, your sentence structure,
Grammar,
grammar,
or tone.
punctuation
marks, uppercase and lowercase.
But because you used to news edit.
Oh, I'm still such a stickler when I see mistakes on
And-
menus and whatnot.
Exactly, and then sometimes, and then when you became a presenter on radio, and me as well, you too.
Yeah.
I don't know. You get the news coming out of the printer. You got to read the news. You got no time to proofread it. You go like,
No pre-read time.
what is going on? Who wrote this? And I have
Obviously,
to
it wasn't done by me.
I know. And you have to read the news there live, and then you go like, why is the grammar wrong? And this is like, anyway.
I just read it verbatim and I make mistakes and then.
Yeah, but it's not, and then, but the thing is us, you see.
Back in World War 11.
Yeah. Yeah, then no comma, then you suddenly it changes the entire
run-on
meaning.
sentences everywhere.
Anyway,
I mean, having come from there, there's still a lot more work to be done in the industry.
Yeah. So actually, that's a good point. You can be curious, but you do need some grounding in the in structure, foundations, and it's actually very helpful. So when people say, "Oh, you write and you speak in such an atas manner,"
we get that, right? And it's like, what do you mean? It's
we are able to.
Don't you speak properly?
Yeah. I mean, we can also talk like you go market, hey, uncle, I want to buy this. That's fine. It's the breadth of your repertoire of communication skills. It's what's important.
Knowing your audience.
And so, does it boil down to the fact that then don't say the education system, but people in general who are educators, for example, don't have that capacity because they weren't brought up that way, or they were, you know what I mean? Because we come from mission schools.
We were fortunate.
We were fortunate enough to be able to code switch, or we are able to code switch. But you grew up in a household, not all, okay, I'm not generalizing, then they find it hard because they were never taught to speak properly, or in the family. Then in school, then your teachers are not of that caliber as well. I mean, I've heard teacher going, "Hey, girls, faster come, the bus here already, don't waste time, faster come." Like, what does that mean?
So.
Oh, yeah, no,
I'm so sorry. No, don't worry.
Oh my God! Leave it in. That was our engineer.
Does he need a mask?
No, he's fine. The engineer,
He's just joking.
He's joking because we are not talking about you, by the way.
Hey, what's happening?
Okay, let's finish.
Are you curious? Why?
Yeah, are you curious? Well,
A chorus of coughs.
Yes. Oh.
It's an outtake.
Yeah, it's damn funny.
Yeah, but I mean, like you say, Hossan, a lot of it boils down to just familiar upbringing, background as well. I mean, some have it better, some have it a bit more challenging.
Because for us Mandarin, we cannot.
Oh yeah, I mean, so that's our challenge.
And I have been scolded before because I don't speak it properly.
Yeah.
You see, so
and then you became Speak Mandarin ambassador.
why
Right?
you cool?
Yeah,
That's right.
strangely enough.
So again, never done before. Don't say no. Just say yes first, then go and figure it out. I think that's one attitude to take if you want to have that skill of. I believe that curiosity and creativity are cognitive skills. They're not something that you are innately born with, or like, okay, this baby come out already. Okay, this one, I think this baby is quite You know,
Curious looking.
He's quite curious. He knows how to fold his own nappy. It doesn't work like that, lah. Then on the point of exposure and upbringing, I think what is lacking in the last 20 years in the education system is that we've unfortunately tried to homogenize too much. That's why, there's a certain standard there. We were fortunate because in mission schools at that time, our schools were allowed to hire our own teachers. We selected.
That's right.
And we had some
appointed.
Angmo teachers, right?
Correct. So we had that breadth of exposure. So we had teachers from the home countries in the UK who would actually read to us Shakespeare in the voice that we would then be familiar with. That's why we learned. That's why we could understand Oscar Wilde and things. That was our diet. And then conversely, our school wasn't great at Mandarin, wasn't great at Chinese cultures, and we were lacking in that. And it's regrettable. So say your general population here does not have that ability to speak English in a way that ACS boys can. Now I'm naming the school. We don't have that breadth of knowledge or the cultural information for our Chinese culture, and
Which,
that's a pity as
you're
well.
right, which is regrettable.
Yeah.
Because then again, I think it's important to be able to, but then now being curious,
Yeah, you can actually.
I am starting to want to
Exactly.
know, like the other night, Chinese New Year, and I live in Johor. The fireworks went berserk at midnight. Okay, like the whole of Johor was on, and until 4 a.m. I'm like, what's wrong with these people? So being curious after opening down, going oi, then realizing that I can't yell at my neighbor because the whole of Johor was fireworks.
On fire.
Until and then to find out, I was curious, and I realized why, and I didn't know because it was the birth, the
Jade Emperor's
Emperor's birthday, and you have to
All these
fire
practices,
at midnight for 4 hours.
Yeah.
For 4 hours. No wonder
Yeah,
it's
exactly. This, so your point, I was like,
How come we didn't know
gosh,
this? Yeah.
because I never studied it, I never knew it.
So
Exactly.
you thought it was just Chinese New Year?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but for 4 hours, why midnight? So then I found out. So so it's great to be able to continue to, I think, encourage a lot of the people, listeners, viewers, keep being curious. I think it's important.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did the phrase "curiosity killed the cat" come about?
Oh
Because
gosh.
because the cat jumped out the window.
But 7 lives, what? Used up all.
Nine
Nine
lives,
lives.
See, I'm also handicapped in numbers, not just Mandarin.
Anyway, we're gonna wrap this episode up. So, Ben, do you have any last curious words or for encouragement to give our listeners, us, for example, as well?
I think just very simply question everything. Question everything. Question why you woke up in the morning. What am I doing today? Why am I feeling a certain way?
Can you question the government?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can. We
So-
may
so-
not get the answer, but you.
So, because people here, especially in this country, don't dare to question the government.
Oh, you have to question the government. Question the government. Be curious. Question the government. Understand why they do certain things. You will make them a better government.
There you go.
Yeah.
Question, right? Question.
That's all we do. Question here on the Leong-Form. So if you're curious about a lot of other things beyond curiosity as a subject matter, this would be the show to be tuning into.
Exactly. And I think it's really important that you can leave your comments as well, so that if you have questions to ask us, please ask as well. Ben would be more happy to answer them. Because you're the clever one. You too lah.
Thank
you.
you.
All went university. I never.
You need to be clever. Just be curious.
Yeah, also. Yeah.
Just be curious.
So so thank you so much, Ben. And of course, we are looking forward to a brand new show that Ben and I are working on together. Yes, watch this space. We will. Yeah. And remember, the Leong-Form will be back. So Stanley and I will be signing out for now.
Ta-ta.